Hi, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. You know what today is? It's time for our Periscope. However, I must share that I wasn't able to get on Periscope. For some reason, I kept trying to start the broadcast and it was like I couldn't load. So, for the sake of time, I'm like, dude, I got to get this done. It's on my to do list today. So, hi, welcome. For those of you who might be new to me, my name is Malena Jackson and I own a nanny company called the Nanny Factory. And what that means is we provide in home childcare for families who need a nanny. Maybe they need a nanny full time, part time, sometimes. And we also provide special events childcare. That means that our nannies will come in and take care of the children during the reception portion of the wedding, or they will actually be with the child or children during the wedding. Because sometimes you know how you have adult only um, ceremonies. Well, there's a solution to that. You can bring your kids, and the Nanny Factory will take care of them. So think of us if you are in need of special events childcare or in home childcare. Our nannies come fully factory certified, and that means that they are insured, trained, and ready to serve. So that's more about me with the Nanny Factory. If you want to learn more, you can go to the nannyfactory.com. And I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope under the Nanny Factory. And what did I leave off? YouTube, which is where you're watching this on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Nanny Factory YouTube channel, because that way you'll get up to date and notified whenever we produce a new video. And I like to think that these videos are very helpful so be sure to make sure you visit our other videos, because I've done quite a few to help you along your nanny journey. So, it's funny because I am trying to figure out if I'm looking in the right space. So just don't worry if I'm not looking right at you, because I'm still trying to figure out like where to actually look on the camera. But it's a lot of fun. It's like trial and error. I actually attended a workshop this past weekend, and the expert in the room basically said, low production, big value, or something like that. And basically it was like production before perfection. That's it. So you don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out how you're going to get it right. Is it going to look perfect? Just get it out there, inform your community, and the rest will kind of work itself out. So that's what I like to think about, when I'm doing this. Like, it's production before perfection. So I hope that even helps you. Like, maybe you've been thinking about doing some videos and just been, putting it off, like, no, I need the right lighting, or this isn't right, or I got to make sure I look this way. Don't worry about it. Just get it done. So you're just tuning in. I am Malena Jackson, and I want to talk to you today about how to effectively communicate with your nanny. What are some best practices in communicating with your nanny? Now, I get this question a lot. You hire a nanny and it's like everything's great, but with that but, do I fire the nanny and replace him or her with another nanny? Or do I communicate it differently? Do I write a note? What do I do? Well, I always inform or like to guide families, don't if you have a nanny and for some reason things just aren't working out, give it some time. Because if you chose that nanny, you were matched with that nanny, and you chose that person for a reason. Perhaps they're good with animals and you love animals, so there's a connection. Or that nanny has expressed his or her love for newborn children. Then you felt comfortable in hiring the nanny in that sense. So there was something that connected the two of you, or the three of you for the parents. So I would say don't discount that, because there's something there. I always say that the nanny, or anywhere in leadership, is only anywhere in like a partnership, is going to be only as good as the leadership. Now for me, I'll give you a quick story. I remember when I graduated from college and I was looking to move. I needed to hire movers, because it was not a matter of just loading everything up in my RAV4 and moving things out of the dorm and into the apartment. I actually needed movers because I had furniture that was in storage or what have you. So I, of course, money was like, I want to make sure I have a good rate. I can't spend a whole lot of money hiring movers. So I hired like this. I don't even think we didn't have Craigslist then. I don't even know how I found these guys. But basically, it was a cheap company. It was going to be cheap. They were like, we can get you moved. No problem. I was like, oh, dude, it's done. Like, I can totally afford this. I'm excited. So I hired them. It was not a mom and pop, but it was an independent company, and they were going to give me a great rate. I can afford it as a newly graduated college student. So I hired them. They were like, okay, we'll be there at 8 o'clock, have everything ready. The best way to do it, when they came to give me the estimate, best way to do it is just have everything packed up, ready to go. So I'm like excited. I'm spending the night before packing up. I'm about to start my new life. I graduated from college. Okay, 8:30 comes and there are no movers. 9 o'clock comes, no movers. 11 o'clock, no movers. And I'm going back here into the late '90s, so I can't remember if I had a cell phone or not. But they didn't get to my dorm until noon, almost quarter to one that day. So here I am, I'm a young college student. I'm like a newly graduated college student. So I didn't think anything of it. I mean, I did, but what could I do, right? I mean, I wasn't going to say, well, forget it, don't do it, because I felt like I really needed them and they had the best rate. You get what you pay for. That's a good lesson here. But anyway, so they get there, and I mean, like, guys, I had probably like IKEA furniture, IKEA type furniture, and there's some furniture at IKEA that's really, good quality. But for the sake of the story, it was like IKEA furniture, nothing heavy. Like, you got to be really careful. You don't want to, you got to lift it properly or take it apart, because it'll just crumble on you if you don't do that. So they are taking forever. I mean, I'm like waiting for the bed to be disassembled, and they are just like, I mean, here we are going on 3 o'clock, and like nothing has really happened. So I'm thinking, okay, should I say something? What do I say? I mean, I really need them. I can't, I don't want to mess this up for us. And 5 o'clock comes, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. They are still trying to load up this little truck they brought. There was no rhyme or reason. There was no strategy in place. And so finally, it was 8 o'clock. I'm tired because, mind you, I've been up all night the night before trying to get everything prepped and ready to go. Woke up extra early to make sure it was ready to go by 8:30. They didn't get there until 12:30, 1 o'clock. Now we're going on to 8:45. And so I'm really mentally drained now, because this has been just, it doesn't make sense, right? So I was like, I tapped the guy on the shoulder, because it was two guys. And I was like, is there some, like, what can we do? Because I really got to get this taken care of. And, this is an all day thing. And I didn't think it would take this long. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I thought we would be done by now. And it seems like we have so much more to do. Can we, like, maybe definitely have like a hard stop, and then maybe we could finish tomorrow? And he was like, no, we're going to do it tonight. And I just remember, like, wow, like, I have no one to call. Like, there's no 1-800 number to call. There's no customer service rep. Like, who the hell do I call? I mean, I have to just basically just take it in stride and go forth, right? So here we are going on 10:30 at night, and finally I had it. I was like at my wit's end. I was like, you know what? I am not going to be able to pay for this, because this is not good service. Oh my gosh, why did I say that? I got called every name in the book. They took my stuff, threw it out of the truck, and drove off with a lot of my stuff still in the truck. And by the way, I was never able to retrieve those items. I mean, and I was sad, because one of them was a book by Zora Neale Hurston that was in the box, that was in the truck when they drove off pissed, because the minute I said I wasn't going to pay, which I was young and dumb maybe, and I should never have revealed my hand like that. But I was just mentally, I was done. Like, I wasn't even thinking properly. So the moral of the story is, I did not use a reputable company. And I liken that to nannies. You hear all these stories about, oh, the nanny won't leave, or the nanny was abusing our kids. And I will say that you can't guarantee that won't happen when you get a nanny from an agency, although agencies do a better job of vetting and making sure that, you know, the nanny is who he or she says she is, because the agency's brand is on the line when they send someone out and they, you know, mess up like that. But a lot of moms want to do it on their own, and then when they hire these independent agents, so to speak, they're like, well, if they don't do a good job, or I feel like they're doing something out of line, what do I say? Because technically, you don't have an agency or a customer service rep or a nanny concierge is what I like to call them, to call and kind of talk it through with, and maybe, you know, call a meeting with you, the nanny, and the agency, to kind of talk through things, right? So a lot of moms and dads are afraid, like, I shouldn't say anything. Like, I even was talking to a mom this week who said how her nanny's great, but her nanny doesn't wash the bottles well. And she's to the point where she doesn't want to say anything because she doesn't want the nanny to get upset and then just, like, you know, forego all the other great things that she does. So here I'm going to give you 3 ways to 3 best practices to effectively communicate with your nanny. Okay, so the first one is, if you want to get a nanny through a referral. Never ever hire someone on your own, okay? Even through a referral, that's risky because you just don't know what you're going to get. Like, even for in our business, you know, as a nanny agency owner, yeah, I get the references from families. I like to know who they've worked with. Give me a letter of reference. We call the reference because we have to. It's a requirement by the state to check references and to fully vet nannies if you're going to call yourself a nanny agency. However, you know, for me, those letters and references really don't hold much weight, because I'm going to really learn who I'm working with once I start working with them and once I have more encounters with that nanny. So you can get the referral. I do recommend you get a referral because it's a great it's a great way to leverage, like, you know, I guess, to get through all of the other anxiety of this stranger, so to speak. So if you know a mom who has a nanny and the nanny might be available on Sundays, which is when you need her, you should talk to that mom and you guys can get together and, like, you know, share the nanny or whatever, because she comes highly recommended. So I would say word of mouth, not necessarily what you read online, because I know there are a lot of sites who have, you know, where they could talk about, what am I trying to say? There are some sites that they write up, like, if they had a good nanny, they'll write up something about them and, hey, you should contact them. You want to get on the phone with the person who's writing that review and actually talk to them and have some good questions. So that leads to my second best practice. See, we haven't even gotten the nanny yet, but I'm telling you what to do before you actually get the nanny. So you want to have a word of mouth. You want to actually have a referral from a friend, someone at church, someone you heard about who has a great nanny or worked with this great nanny. You want to get there, you want to talk to them first. And then you want to have some good questions. Like, think about what's important to you. Like, for me, it's important that the nanny doesn't go in my bedroom. Like, you should not be in my room. Like, there's no reason for you to be in a room. Don't let the kids talk you into it. There's nothing there for you. You shouldn't be in the room. And you should be okay with not knowing whether you're on a nanny cam. I think that when you're on the up and up, it doesn't matter whether I have a nanny cam or not, right? So that's important to me, that the nanny consents to, she's okay with not going in my room and being on nanny cam whenever I choose, however I choose, okay? Not in her bedroom or anything like that. If it's a live-in nanny, there has to be guidelines. And then thirdly, it's important that the nanny is able to not necessarily multitask, but not crumble under pressure. So, like, if you have one kid crying, the other one's asking for a sandwich, the third one needs to go to the restroom, she knows in her mind, like, she's solid in her mind how to multitask that. Whether she says, okay, let's go to the restroom, I'll make your sandwich later, but she's like kind of like a traffic cop, you know, directing traffic. I need a nanny who can do that, because I have 4 kids, and for some reason 4 kids like to talk to you all at one time. And even when we go in McDonald's, like, if they're all at the counter at the same time, the poor cashier, she gets overwhelmed. She's like, oh my God, like, they're all talking at the same time. So I need to make sure that I have a nanny that can handle that. So it's important that you get clear on what your expectations are for your nanny. And then after you have your referral, you're clear on what your expectations are. You bring in the nanny, okay? So you've hired the nanny. This is your third best practice. you need to ask the nanny, what is the best way for me to communicate with you? Do you like to be text message? Because now we're in this digital age. Is it digital or this new technology age? Do you want to be text message? Is it okay if I email you? Should I talk to you? Or should I call you? One of the things I like to do is we have a child care report. So our families get the child care journal. And what that means is every time the nanny comes on her shift, the mom has actually wrote out, like, if John had a fever last night, he might be a little dehydrated, make sure you give him a little Tylenol, this is how much. She's going to write that down and let us know if there's anything that's going on in the family, like, oh, the goldfish died the other day. Because remember, these aren't live-in nannies. We primarily specialize in nannies who might come only twice a month, or they might be there, twice every other week. So things can go on in the interim, and we want to make sure we communicate. Now, if for some reason the nanny did something that the mom isn't happy about, we also ask that she documents that. So here's one thing I would ask of you, hey, when there's only a little bit of milk left, make sure you don't put it back in the fridge. Or the other night there were extra dishes in the dishwasher, and I would really love it if you could help me do that. Now, let me just side note. Our nannies are not housekeepers. However, they will be there to help with the care of the child. So if they made a mess or used up more dishes than usual while they were making a light dinner or something like that, then they are required to clean up. But my thing to you is, you want to be clear on how your nanny likes to be communicated with, because now it's not just about like face to face. Some nannies don't want to talk face to face. Like, it intimidates them. And when you're working with an agency, it's important that if you feel like if you do have an issue, can I contact my nanny concierge? Can I contact customer service and go through the motions with them first to see what the next best step would be? For instance, one mom was telling me how the nanny would leave the baby on the changing table. Like, who does that, right? And the baby was, rolling over and stuff, and it just made her nervous, but she didn't know how to say anything. And she didn't necessarily want to fire the nanny because of that, but it's like, well, how do I tell her not to do that? Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, you just say don't do that, right? But it's deeper than that, because these are people that you are hiring to care for your children. So you want to make sure that they feel respected and, being communicated well. But one of the things you don't want to do is let things build up. It's like in any relationship, you want to just communicate along the way. Don't wait until you have like 12 things on the list of things you do wrong and then try to correct that. You want to make sure that you're course correcting along the way, because nobody's perfect. These nannies come with great recommendations. They have all these hours of experience, and the kids love them, but nobody's perfect. So it's a matter of making sure that you teach them, you communicate with them on how to serve you and your family. That's what it all comes down to. And I really highly recommend that you go through some place where you can call someone. You can call a professional. Like, remember with my moving company, I didn't have a 1-800 number or anybody that I can call to talk to me about the situation, and who could get those guys on the phone and say, hey, look, get it together, guys. Like, this client is unhappy. Those guys were like a bunch of idiots, for the lack of a better term, but they were like, they drove off with most of my stuff on the truck because I, was tired and filed a complaint. So you just want to make sure that you're covered. And one of the things I always tell the nannies is like, sure, you can go and work for the other nanny agencies, or, put yourself out there as a babysitter or a nanny. But when you come on with the Nanny Factory, it's important that you're just solely with the Nanny Factory, because we are your managers, and we're going to make sure that not only are you being treated well, but that your families can feel comfortable being able to course correct, because they have an agency that's also on their side. So we're here to help. We're not here to get in the way or make it more difficult for you to serve families. We're actually here to serve as mediators at the time, when the time is needed. We can help you, if there's a problem arise, and we keep the quality control. We make sure the quality control is there, so that way you are highly recommended, and that way you are kept longer and loved and adored by the families. So I think that especially in this day and age when people can do anything. Like, you could be anything you choose to be. You have full access to whatever it is that you need. It's important that you have work with professionals, and it's kind of similar to like going on a cruise. I always say, like, you get some moms who are like, well, I could just find a nanny on my own. And one of the things we want to do is make sure we equip the moms who want to DIY their nanny search, which is do it yourself nanny search. You want to give them some tools and tricks of the trade to best protect themselves and to make sure they can get what they are looking for, and something that's within the best interest of the nanny as well, right? So those are the 3 best practices that I highly recommend that you put in place. If the moment you decide you're going to find a nanny on your own, and let's recap, is the first best practice is to get a referral. Make sure it's someone you know who has actually worked with the nanny or has talked to someone who's worked with the nanny, but basically that person can vouch for them, because if there is an issue, then you can be like, hey, you told me this. I mean, not that you want to cause problems in your friendship, right? But it's just helpful when you have someone that has kind of given you the ropes and told you what's really up with this nanny. And secondly, you want to get clear on what your expectations are. This is not connect the dots as you go. You want to have the dots connected before you bring someone in, because if you don't even know what you want, that's going to be tough to communicate to a nanny. And nannies don't want to have to keep course correcting because you're not sure. So you need to get sure on what you want and what your expectations are when it comes to serving your family. And the third best practice is to ask the nanny, what is the best way to communicate with you? Like, if I have a concern or want to give information to you or update you on anything that's going on in the family, how would you like me to communicate that with you? And I think that would be it shows the nanny 2 things. 1, that you're concerned about his or her well-being, and 2, that you respect them as the child care provider. And what nanny doesn't want to be respected? And is it the term revered? I better leave that out. But what nanny doesn't want to be, doesn't want to feel like you care about what their wishes are as well. Because that's like the big thing. We'll talk about that, like when you hear these horror stories. I should probably do that next week. I'll talk to you about why those things happen and how you can ensure that it'll never happen in your family. So that's my talk for today on this beautiful afternoon in sunny CA. We're talking about 3 best practices for effectively communicating with your nanny. I hope that helps. I know it should help you. If you need any more information, be sure to visit our website at thenannyfactory.com. You can follow us on Facebook, where I also share a little tips and tricks on the Facebook page. And I actually overshare in our e-zine every week, which is the Nanny Factory Weekly. So if you're not already subscribing to that, I highly recommend that you do subscribe. It comes out every Friday afternoon, and it's chock full of information about what's going on in my life as a nanny agency owner, highlighting different things that are going on within the Nanny Factory. And I'd love for you to be a part of that community, because that's our secret community. So make sure you subscribe to the Nanny Factory Weekly, and you can see more information about how to get into the community on the website page and on our Twitter account. So remember, you can have it all, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Hey, if you know of a mom or a dad who could use this information, maybe they're expecting their first child, or they have a nanny and have this situation, share the good news. My job is to get the word out about the Nanny Factory and how we could be a resource to families. So it doesn't even matter whether they use the Nanny Factory or not. It's just a matter of them knowing that we exist, right? So make sure you share the good news of the Nanny Factory, and if anything, send them the link to this video. I would really, really appreciate it. So I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Until next time, I'll see you later. Goodbye.